I wonder how many people out there have taken very much care to know very much about IQs. Are you aware that the average IQ is 100? I want you to imagine that you come to meet somebody whose IQ is, say, 85, which is fairly low. Puts them in the position of a person who supposedly doesn't process things particularly well. Now, I want you to imagine that you get upset at that person because they do a bunch of stuff that's not very smart. This is what I want to talk about today in a piece I've entitled Growing Legs for the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. My name is Kurt, and today is Wednesday, the 25th of August of 2021. And I'm going to go ahead and read my notes real quick to kind of clue you into exactly what it is that I'm saying. Imagine you have a friend who was born without legs. Now imagine saying, not having legs is a real strain on you and makes you unable to do the same things as others. You should grow a pair of legs. Does that sound ridiculous? It sure does to me. This is what it's like telling an autistic person they should take on certain attributes that are totally foreign to them. Am I saying they shouldn't learn to adapt to a world in which they really don't fit? Not at all. That said, when they do so, to begin with, you should realize what an astounding thing they've accomplished. Then, when they fail, and they almost certainly will, it shouldn't be unexpected. When that happens, you ought to extend grace to them, just like your friend who has no legs, or for that matter, the person with a low IQ. I've been watching a loose documentary. It's not really strong on facts and so forth, and I'm not expecting it to be entirely accurate, but it talks about the way a particular young man with autism was treated by a bunch of the people around him. And one of the things that I saw, whether it was intentional or accidental, and whether they really meant what they said or they didn't, I don't know, but was people telling that individual that he should take on certain attributes that were foreign to him in just about every regard. I want you to understand something. My son is autistic, and there are lots of things that we slowly moved him into doing that were a lot of work. That was a lot of work for me. Boy, I had to work hard. I have nothing on that boy. I have nothing on him. He's had to work so much harder than I have. For me, it's been more about patience and watching and trying to guide him in the right direction. For him, it's been about trying to understand a world that he really doesn't get. What you need to understand is this. There are people around you, and you need to be understanding of those people. You need to recognize that they don't all have the same abilities, the same strengths, the same weaknesses that you have. They might be totally different in who they are than anything you ever were. In the case of autistic people, there's a tendency, somebody pointed out, to do a number of things that make people think that you're uncaring. My son has very little filter unless you tell him, don't do that. Garrett, don't do that. Don't say that. I know you think it's okay to say that. It's not. And he doesn't think it's okay to say it. He just says what he thinks. He doesn't really think that it's okay to say it. He doesn't think about whether it's okay or not. It's not a thing for him. So I have to help him build into himself a perspective that says, this is not okay. This is what I have to do with my son. And this is not something that just, is a simple single example. It is a simple single example, but it's not the only sort of example that you can come up with people who have various conditions of various kinds. And what you need to be ready to do is deal with those people, dealing with their strengths and their weaknesses. I'm going to say this again, right? If you have a friend and your friend is without legs, born without legs, you wouldn't say to that person, you need to grow legs. You might say, these are things that you can do to help you adapt to the world at large. And you might do some things to help that person have tools to make it so that they can do things they wouldn't be able to do otherwise as a result of their not having legs. You might build countertops lower, or, make it so that they can have a ramp to get from place to place if they're in a wheelchair, for example. So there are things that you might do to them, that will do for them, I should say, that will help them to have easements of sorts. Well, here's the problem. You can't really do that with people with autism in the same sort of way. you can't build physical things to help autism most of the time. What you have to do instead is you have to realize that there are certain things that they're going to do badly that are going to be problems for them, right? Autistic people, like I have noted a couple of times now, some of them are what's referred to as face blind, right? And that's just how that is. They won't recognize a face, particularly out of context where they would normally see it. They're not good at untangling non-verbal cues. They're not good at that. They don't deal well with that. Okay? So it needs to be understood that a lot of their, quote, disabilities are not things that you're going to physically see. And if you assume, well, he's just slow or whatever, you're sort of right in a way, I suppose. But the reality is he or she just doesn't have certain capabilities, at least, quote, out of the box, that, quote, normal people, neurotypical people have. And so when you have a person who doesn't have legs, you may not think of everything they need or be able to help them in every way. But as a rule, they've got a improved chance that people are going to understand their situation and deal with it in a more not reasonable, but I suppose you could say more reasonable way. So they're going to make it so that that person has a ramp if they can do it, and they're going to make it so that they have lowered countertops to work from if they can do it, and so forth. Various things that they can do to make that person's life easier. But when it comes to people with autism or people with other mental disabilities, you can't even necessarily know what their disability is up front. Oh, he's autistic? Well, what does that mean? Well, it means something different for every different person. Oh, he's got an 85 IQ? Well, maybe he's got an excellent memory, so his low IQ is not nearly as bad a problem. Still, he won't be able to pick things up quickly. You can pretty much know that. But the point I'm making here is you can't, when a person has a physical disability, typically not always, you can tell and you can do things about it. And when you can't tell, then you have the same sort of problem that you have with those people who have mental, social, and so forth disabilities, and that is that you have to learn those disabilities and figure out ways to help them to adapt, either by creating tools through which they can do so, or by helping them to know what is right, what is proper, and what is good. And this is one of the problems that I have with the folks in this documentary, is this assumption that this autistic person should just do things. Oh, you should just do this. You should just be that. What? If somebody told you, oh, you should just be able to jump and grab a 10-foot basketball hoop, would you be able to do it? Would it be reasonable to ask you to do it? You could aim for it. You could try to do that. But for most people, the answer is they're not going to be able to do that. That's not something they're going to be able to do. So if you ask an autistic person to be more adult, it's okay to ask, and it's okay to try and help them to be that thing, but you need to understand that that person is going to have problems accomplishing the thing that you're asking them to do. And when they fail, as they almost invariably will, you need to understand that that failure is what it is, and you must deal with it, and they must deal with it. That's just the reality there. So this is what I'm trying to get across here. It's particularly true for people who you can't see their disability. That you need to realize the disability is there, that you need to try and understand what the disability is. Now, I've said any number of times that I expect the average person to just not do that. But here's my take for those people. If you don't know what people around you are going through, don't make bad assumptions that you don't know are reasonable. Start from a position of grace. I don't care who they are. I don't care if that person is autistic or not. Maybe they're just having a horribly bad day today. Start from a position of grace. Work to a position of trying to help that person to accomplish things that they need to accomplish. All right, I am about out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Wednesday, the 28th of August of 2021. I think I said 2024 yesterday or the day before. It is not 2024. It is 2021. Tomorrow will be Thursday, the 27th of August, 2021. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. I might not have said that at the beginning, and I might not have welcomed you aboard. Welcome aboard as well if I didn't. Keep in mind that you can give me a positive or a negative rumble on Rumble. That is a plus or a minus. You can give me a thumbs up or a like or a thumbs down or dislike on YouTube as well if you want to do that. If you're, whether or not you give me feedback, you're welcome to leave comments on YouTube or Rumble. If you give me negative feedback, I'd really appreciate it. Frankly, I'd appreciate any feedback that you can give me so that I can make better products for you in terms of what I'm putting out there as my videos. Again, today's subject has been growing legs, and tomorrow we're going to talk about an interesting subject. We're going to talk about looks like racism. Hope you're having a good day today. Today is Wednesday, that middle of the week. Hope things are going well for you. And I hope to see you again on Thursday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Wednesday, the 25th of August of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.